in a traditional model, you have a company that has a vision where you want to go. That vision comes from above. You have a manager that actually says, this is where we're going, and you now have 4 months to develop it. And that's the traditional model, right? That's not how Linux works, and that's not how I work. I called myself a manager in the panel, but I do very little of the management. It's probably more technically accurate to say a technical lead person, because I don't do logistics. I don't support people in that sense like a manager in a traditional company would do. I don't pay people's salaries. I don't make sure that they have a workstation. I don't do any of that. But I also don't really have the vision of where we need to go, because there's hundreds of different companies and individuals that aren't even at companies that all have a vision of where they want to go. What I do as a technical lead ends up being saying, okay, that direction may make sense to you, but there's no way we can take it because it makes sense to nobody else, right? So one of my jobs is actually saying no, and that has always been true, that I'm like saying, no, we're not doing that, we can't do that. Maybe it's the right thing for you, but even if it's the right thing for you, we can't merge it because it's the wrong thing for everybody else. So I don't need to give vision. Instead, I need to do the integration and make certain choices. Sometimes I give direction where instead of saying no, I say, I see what you're going for, but I can't take it in that form because it would break everybody else, right? And then I say, you may be able to solve your problem by doing it this way instead, then it will work well for everybody else. So that's really my job. And that's, I think, much easier in an open source environment, exactly because you have visions. It's just that the vision is not limited to the top, or like, the vision is, we don't just spread out the actual coding effort, we spread out and distribute the vision effort too. And I think that's equally important. It's one of the reasons why I think Linux is actually fairly well balanced as a project, why we can support anything from cell phones to supercomputers, right? Which nobody else does, literally. So Windows, sure, they support cell phones and supercomputers, but they don't do it with the same source base. OS X, same thing. They have iOS for the cell phones, and OS X doesn't even scale to supercomputers. It scales a fairly narrow band. Linux scales across the whole band, and part of the reason is exactly that instead of having this vision of going in one direction, we had tons of different visions and going in different directions, and we tried to integrate them all. And the end result is a very balanced project that works very well in different areas. And I think it works really well. And it's all because it's open source. You couldn't do this within a company. If you had a company that just spent all its effort bickering about all the 10 different groups saying, no, I want to go there, I want to go there, that company would not work, right? But in open source, it works.